Hello, our friends, Evolutionary EEARTS, Heart's Home family.
Hello there, welcome back.
As always, guys, make sure you are subscribed to all three channels, Heart's Home, EEARTS, and over on Evolutionary Energy Arts. Unique videos going up on all three. We are going to be talking about the concept of Sattvic, Rajasic, and Tamasic diet. And what does that mean? The three gunas, and then there's also the doshas, and then we get into life force. And, just understanding, I want to give some basic understanding to basic principles that might be very, very familiar to people that have been in yogic circles, Vedic circles, but very, very unfamiliar to most people here in the West.
Mm-hmm. And these also fall into place. They have their place in astrology too. These three, Sattvic, Rajasic, and Tamasic. So it's really interesting when you're able to look into someone's chart and tell them, where they fall under. So it's all very curious, part of our makeup.
Yeah, and again, if you want to progress in a spiritual way of living, let's just say, because it really has to become a way of living. So much of us in the West, our spirituality centers around one day of the week, or something along those lines, an occasional book to try to uplift you, get you out of a funk. You know how it is. But the reality is, for many in the world, every single moment of every day is centered around spirituality. Now, this is something that when we are in a golden age or a silver age is the norm, and we totally understand, because we understand the basic principles of creation and experience in the temporary human experience that we're having. In a dark age, of course, it's dark for a reason. There's a lack of understanding. And there's also false belief systems, limiting mindsets that are placed on people. And what's promoted is, in many cases, the inverse of what is good and healthy for mind, body, and spirit.
Mm-hmm. The etheric realm is just right next to us. It's right here. And it would behoove us to learn to understand spirituality that much more, because then not only are we moving into alignment, we are starting to enjoy this life and understand our purpose.
So this is a cute little Simpsons type of understanding of the three gunas here. Sattva, balance, harmony, positive, peace, clarity, light, creativity, openness, intelligence. Rajas, movement, activity, energy, excitement, passion, desire, agitation, anxiety, egotism. And then tamas, inertia, inactivity, negative, apathy, dullness, dark, delusion, depression, ignorance. If you can look at these three gunas, you could think of them as three tendencies, so to speak, and automatically put yourself straight into one of these categories, then it could be very, very insightful. And there's reasons why these tendencies might be predominant in our life. Some of it does literally have to do with past life and the stars.
A lot of this information is for us to get a deeper understanding, or why did you come here? And sometimes with what we might perceive as the more negative aspect of things is only put in front of us so that we can help ourselves grow, turn that into a positive. So there's reasons for everything. And if you feel you're falling into something that might be negative, understand that that's more like you're being called to expand your consciousness and take a look at that. Because sometimes in life, we might have a lot of very strong, powerful emotions that are painful. But that is just to kind of jab at us to get us into the light, to get us to expand more, to help us understand the reality of our soul. So it's all a blessing. It's our perspective.
Absolutely. And when we eat foods that automatically make us feel exhausted, how many people really pay attention to this? Like when you eat a food and all of a sudden you feel so tired, you got to go lay down. Or maybe you feel kind of fuzzy. Maybe you feel a little blurry, kind of like, the food itself has taken away some of the clarity from your mind. Maybe the food makes you agitated. Maybe you have too much stomach acid. Again, these are tendencies. These are really clues into our own makeup. So when we look at things that are foods that are called Sattvic, or Sattvic producing fresh fruits and veggies, whole food, unprocessed, unrefined, foods that tend to be juicy, water rich, freshly cooked, lightly seasoned, living food with life energy. Aha, yes, absolutely. And what are these foods going to do? Well, again, think of it as you are beings that are electromagnetic in nature. So anything that's going to increase that electromagnetic aspect of the self is going to automatically have a tendency to bring about a little bit more life to you, clarity to you. When you look at Rajasic, too bitter, too sour, too salty, pungent, hot and dry, excess flavoring of the spices. Again, these could be things that might be related to, or you could see these as having a quality that might elicit a response from our adrenals in a way. It's almost kind of like foods that are going to tax the system, make it work too hard, and make it go at too fast of speed. Whereas tamasic are going to be stale, cooked after 3 hours, rotten meat and seafood, foul liquor. Tamasic food is dead food. When we eat dead food, the same death is transferred to our body in the form of disease. Yes, you will hear, you need your amino acids. You got to have meat. Well, again, it takes a lot more life force to break down that meat, which then also creates a lot of uric acid in your body, which is also going to create an acidic condition. So, that line of thinking, in a sense, is not really incorrect. It's not really correct. You do need your amino acids. But again, as long as you're getting complete amino acids, you're going to cover your bases. B12, if you are vegetarian, then you want to make sure you're getting enough B12. And again, I do think that everything we've learned is going to be thrown out of the window totally when it comes to the next era, because our bodies are changing right now. They're mutating, they're morphing. We again are much more complicated beings than we understand in many different ways, and our consciousness extends through different densities. As we've said so many times, we are not just the physical body. The physical body is the most dense experience that we are having, but our consciousness doesn't necessarily even reside entirely in the body. And, our consciousness is not the byproduct of the brain, but absolutely what you put into your body can affect the processing of the brain and the capabilities of the brain.
Mm-hmm. In the Silver Age and Golden Age teachings, it's very true that we are learning from childhood about spirituality and how to walk in almost lockstep with the etheric realm, with everything that's around us, so that there's harmony, so that there's this appropriate give and take, swapping of energies, and you'll know right away when things are out of balance. And instead of not realizing it, you're going to be called to pull back in the balance, because that's just the nature of beings. But right now we're in a place where we don't remember all the harmony that we had, and we still have to find this information through books, through other people. But the point is that it's there, and it does call for our expansion.
Absolutely. So we can again sharpen the mind, increase our peace, increase our calmness, increase our emotional stability by adjusting what we're putting into our bodies. And again, not everybody's going to be called to have a life that's centered around spirituality, especially in these times. But again, especially in these times, so many people are deluded into thinking basically there's constructs given that are not accurate in the bigger picture, and also in other ages would be viewed as being very, very negative mindsets and constructs. And there's a lot of just simply not understanding the way the universe works in Kali Yuga, and even in the beginning parts of what we would call the Bronze Age. So again, tamas, dull mind, obscures awareness, veiling power, apathetic, lazy, sluggish, foggy, heavy, prone to depression. Fear and avoidance are dominant emotions, allows for rest and sleep, hinders self-inquiry and meditation. When we go over to Rajas, you could see these are almost kind of opposites. Energetic mind distorts awareness, projecting power, busy, passionate, aggressive, frustrated, excited, prone to anxiety. Desire/anxiety allows for motivation, hinders self-inquiry and meditation. So these are very much opposites. Whereas we have Sattva, clear, calm mind, reveals awareness, revealing power, easygoing, balanced, peaceful, harmonious, contented. Truth and beingness allows for discernment, facilitates self-inquiry and meditation. So somebody that has a Rajasic mindset, they might be a go-getter. They might be completely type A, busy, gotta go, not enough time in the day, gotta get this done, gotta get that done. And again, at the same time, they won't be able to sit still, and they won't maybe be able to take so much what you might call self-criticism or constructive criticism. Again, it's all about the intent, and it's all about the way it's taken too. Because we might think that we are giving somebody constructive criticism, but they might not take it that way. And whereas in Tamas, you have somebody that just has a tendency towards depression, laziness, can't get up, can't get going, can't get doing anything, and so they're fighting the opposite side. So if you have somebody that is of Tamas and they keep eating a tamasic diet, that's just going to make the situation worse. And it's the same thing with Rajas, and if you have somebody here that's eating a hot, spicy diet, again, it could make them even worse and eventually give them ulcers, or breakdowns at the worst point of it. So the Sattvic diet, eat like a yogi. Yoga enthusiasts will get the most out of their practice if they pursue a Sattvic diet. Core emphasis in Ayurveda, the traditional Indian medicine. A Sattvic diet emphasizes foods that encourage mental clarity as well as physical health. In this diet, there are the 3 gunas, the 3 qualities of food. Sattvic, ideal foods for clarity and purity, including organic fruit and vegetables harvested at the appropriate time. Milk from happy cows. Happy cows is key, free-range, organic cows that are loved. Because again, if you are a miserable being all day, if you're living in fear, you're putting off those chemicals and those hormones. And so, of course, whatever's in you emotionally is going to be transferred in the milk and eventually in the cheese or whatever it is that you're eating from the dairy, yogurt. sprouted whole grains, legumes, nuts, seeds, honey, and herbal teas. Sattvic foods should be fresh, mild, and consumed in moderation. Again, we don't overeat. One thing that we know for sure is that the studies that have been done that show the way we can increase our lifespan, it's always through taking in less calories. It's always a restricted diet calorically will always gain us longevity, because again, the body can only process so much, and then in these times so much of the food is toxic. Even if we're taking in what we think is organic, the very air, the very water, everything around us is toxic. So again, allowing the body plenty of time to purge is so key. Rajasic foods of passion and change, neither good nor bad in moderation, including strong herbs and spices, caffeinated drinks, and chocolate. That's something that should be very much in moderation, and watch it, especially depending on your own tendencies. Tamasic. These foods to avoid for reasons physical, mental, and spiritual. They include meat, fish, eggs, alcohol, and processed foods. Food that was harvested through violence, i.e. milk from abused cows, is tamasic. Overeaten, even of sattvic foods, is also tamasic. Remember, it takes time to feel the healing effects of a sattvic diet. Don't give up if you don't feel supreme spiritual enlightenment in a matter of weeks. Patience is a sattvic virtue too.
Mm-hmm. These are really wonderful to point out that our perception of things. I mean, you might perceive some of these things as bad or negative, but again, when you know this information, you have a better idea of what you came here to do. What did you come here to work on? Each one of these has their overall tendency to get you to be a better person. Even the Sattvic, when astrologically speaking, that's a very pure type of nature. It's clear. It's like water. But if something negative comes into your clear or into your water, right away, and you're going to work on that. And the other two are more about pulling into balance. If you're the Rajasic or the Tamasic, it's like, okay, why did I come here? What do I need to pull into balance, and what things are best for me when I have these things, or when they show themselves in astrology?
You could think of it in many terms. We could use analogy of a boat with maybe two different issues. If you're trying to keep your spiritual boat afloat, and if you think of things from a tamasic end, if you keep adding weight to that boat, it's just going to sink deeper and deeper into the water until eventually it's just going to just go all the way down to the bottom. And from a Rajasic end of things, you could think of it in terms of having a fire on the boat because you're trying to stay warm, but you have it burning in a manner of which it's not burning the boat itself. But if you keep adding to it, at some point it's going to start to wear away and start to actually burn the boat, which will end up sinking you as well. So, with sattva and sattvic foods, these are foods that are going to enable us to develop those abilities, the insight, the intuition, the clairvoyance, the ability to literally sit peacefully and calm the mind so you can actually hear your guides, so you could actually receive really important messages. Because again, if we're too Rajasic, we're not going to be able to sit still. If we're too Tamasic, we're not going to have the clarity and the focus. And obviously, one of the things that should hit you right off is if you are on any sort of script from your DR period, look at the look at the little paper that gives you all those notes of things that might occur. They're going to be all these things that interfere with creating a sattvic condition in your mind. And this is the whole purpose of the system. This is the whole purpose of the system. Because, yes, anything that you find in modern MED you can find in nature that nature has natural buffers in it that are removed from allopathic MD, so to speak, and the natural buffers make things a little bit easier to process without all these harmful considerations. So, another interesting thing is all gunas create attachment and thus bind one's self to the ego. When one rises above the three gunas that originate in the body, one is freed from birth, old age, disease, and death, and attains enlightenment. While your yogi's goal is to cultivate sattva, his or her ultimate goal is to transcend the misidentification of the self with the gunas and to be unattached to both the good and the bad, the positive and the negative qualities of life. That is a yogic / Buddhic detachment that we talk about. And we talked about the new group of 7 guides that came through and were telling us, you're going to have to practice this in this period of time that's coming up, because they could see what's coming. So there's 4 links that go a little bit deeper, or at least different wording of what we're trying to get across to you, talking about the gunas and the yogic diet. And this is a little quiz, so you can find out, what is your primary guna right now, because they're always changing, Again, you might move. Maybe you had a favorite restaurant. Maybe that was like a Thai restaurant or whatever type of food it was, and you predominantly kept going back there to eat all the time. Now you're in a new place, and that is no longer available, or certain foods that were available are no longer available, so your diet changes. You might find all of a sudden you're feeling a little different, you're thinking a little different, your tendencies are a little different. This is because we are always changing. Our chemical makeup, our emotional makeup is constantly in a state of flux. So understanding these things are really, really key, and we can make adjustments as needed.
Yes, and learning to become fluid, learning to recognize certain things in ourselves so that we know which way do I point my sail, because if this world has done one thing, it's really gotten us all in a kind of a big chaotic mess where we have so many things going on that we're not sure what to do. But if we slow down and if we allow our soul to still itself, we can see better and clearer which steps we need to take, when and in what direction.
Absolutely. So I hope this gave you guys a quick little idea, and there's so much more we can expand on with this, and we'll go into more detail in following videos, and we'll also get into the relationship of the gunas with your dosha, and even talk about blood type to a degree and other things as well. But hopefully this gave you some answers. I think it's going to probably create a lot more questions too. Much love as always. Again, thanks for your support on Ko-Fi and Patreon. Please do put your comments in there, and we will address them in upcoming videos as we go along.
Source bless and namaste.
Namaste.